We have a fresh character randomizer. I'll be calling on you all in chat to help me build our second character that we are going to explore for the purposes of running a horror-themed adventure around him or her. Neo Realms, as you're newly arrived, why don't you help kick off the character creation workshop part 2 with a percentile roll in chat, exclamation point 1D100, to let us know if we have a female character, a male character, or a multi-class character, in which case we'd roll again. Stops on a 44. We have a female character. Wolfblade. Next up, well, let's see. How are we going to do this? Oh, that's right. We're going to do this. We're going to do this on, there are 35. There are 35 races here. And last time we just did a straight multiplication, but it was brought up that, you know, a 13 couldn't come up in that case. So if we have our 35, and I don't know, if we just ended up making it a 6x6, Wolfblade, would you please roll a d6 in chat? And that's exclamation point 1d6. Stops on a 2. Okay. So we're in the second set of 6. And within that set of 6... hey, Orc. You're typing in Tails, by the way. Okay, no problem. Thank you for lurking while you share your story, Orc. Blue's Clues is back. Cybernetic passes. Blues, will you type a exclamation point 1d6 in chat? So we're in 7 through 12. Okay. We have a dwarf. And there are 3 different types of dwarves that can be run. Out of the guides here. Cybernetic Illithid, will you please roll a d3 in chat to determine which kind of dwarf we have? One. We are making a Duergar Dwarf. We have a female Duergar. Okay. Hypnotic Gamer, will you roll a percentile for the alignment of this character we're generating? And we're going to use the balanced odds table. Stops on a 38. We have a lawful neutral character. Duergars are medium. Alright, there we go. Raven, will you roll a percentile for the level at which we're going to be making this character? Stops on a 12. We're having some low-level adventures here. So we're making a level 5 character. To name your bot after you? Or my bot after you? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, Totem, that's fine. So, Totem, will you roll if we're going to take an ability score improvement, or if we're going to end up taking a feat? That's a percentile roll. Stops on a 65. Ooh, close. All right, so Totem, we're going au naturel. It's just us. We're going to take the 2 points to 1 stat or 1 point to 2 stats at level 4. Mythical Hyena. We have a lot of backgrounds. We have 66. I know that says 62, but the last 4 are in Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So would you roll a d6 in chat? All right, we're going to be in the first 11 because it's 66, right? 6, and then we can break it up into 11s. So we're going to be in the first 11, and of the first 11, Joe, I know you want to roll the subclass. All right, so we'll wait on that. Wolfblade, I did not get a chance while I was up to see it. I got up, refreshed myself, and I sat back down, and we're back here. I don't know if you're on our Discord or not. If you posted it there, I might be able to take a look at it. But if it's related to chat, I can't really see that right now. All right, who else do we have here? Balooz, did I have you roll? Balooz Clues, will you please roll a d12? All right, Raven, I can't scroll up and see it right now, but I trust... I mean, you two have a very good dynamic. I trust you two have been razzing each other pretty well. A 10. All right, so we are a City Watch, or in particular, an Investigator. Actually, we'll just put Investigator here. There we go. All right, there's no special additional role, you know, like with, if you're a guild merchant, what type of craft do you make? So we would just have the standard array of personality traits, an ideal, a bond, and a flaw. We'll get to that in just a second. Now we have our class and our subclass. Average Joe wanted to roll the subclass, so... Cybernetic Illithid, will you please roll a d12 for me? $11. We have a Warlock. All right, Average Joe, will you please roll a d6 to find out what kind of Warlock we have? An Archfey Warlock. Okay. Raven to Blue, the number you're trying to reach is no longer in service. If you feel you've reached this automated message in error, please try again. Please also note that any purchases you may have agreed to is now forfeit, and you've given them away to Raven. All right, there you go. I guess you're locked. What kind of a contract did you get into, Blues? Archfey Warlock Investigator sounds like they're trying to cover up their own issues. What? Since when have investigators and private eyes ever tried to hide a shady past by, you know, their careers or, drinking or getting involved in chthonic horrors? Just because you sell yourself to an Archfey doesn't mean it's not like you haven't sold your soul to a devil. Bubonic. Hey, Bubonic. You're just in time. As I would like you to roll a class feature for our Warlock. What kind of pact do we have, Bubonic 1? Will you please roll a D3 in chat for me? Exclamation point 1D3. Two. Ah, a chain pact. Ooh. All right. This guy's Dresden Light. Hey, Rhino. Rhino, will you please do me a favor and roll a percentile in chat, exclamation point 1D100, and let's find out how old our investigator is. I guess we could cybernetic. I guess we'll see where things go from here. Hi, Rhino. $75. So we have a middle-aged Duergar woman. And let's find the Duergar here. There we go. Middle-aged is 137 plus 1d86 years. So I'm going to make an 86-sided die. And we're going to add 137 to it. She's 155 years old. And she is middle-aged. Backstory for your character in a quasi-evil campaign was posted in Tabletop Tales. Yeah, hey, for all of you who contribute to Tabletop Tales and certainly you, thank you very much for doing so. Well, it's old, but for her, she's just, you know, maybe in her 40s. You know, a dwarven equivalent of 40s, 50s. Yeah, the Duergar are like gray and pale, and they live underground, but not the way that traditional dwarves do. There you go. Take that, glass ceiling. You got it, Balooz. More like middle arid. Hey, she's old enough to ada. And then her... we'll do her height and weight real quick. Her base height is 4 feet, but we're going to modify it by 2d4. She is 4 feet 2 inches high. Of course, for a Duergar, that doesn't last too long. 4 feet 2 inches high. We're going to take that same 2, multiply it by 2d6 by 7. We're adding 14 pounds to a base weight of 130. So she's 144 pounds. And that's not her armor and weapons, her investigator gear, all that. She gets up in the morning, rolls out of bed, scratches her butt, looks at herself in a mirror. She's in her undies or PJs. Like, that's her weight. That is her natural weight. So it doesn't count against carrying capacity or anything along those lines. So, you know, milk duds, I don't mind them, but I would certainly give away my milk duds to people who do. My mom's basement count as living underground? I suppose? 144 at 4'2"? Thick. With 2 Cs, even. Well, what if I were to ramp it up and go 3 Cs? Yes, she's a burly girl. That's right. She was born in the dark, raised by it. You merely adopted it. Rolos are the best. Rolos are extremely decent candy. Extremely okay. Oh, I'll take licorice. Absolutely. Absolument, mon frere. All right. We have the outline of our character. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm sorry. Mendara, you're back. Will you please type exclamation point 4d6? 1, 5, and 5 for the ideal, the bond, and the flaw. And insert names. Will you please type exclamation point 1d8 for a personality trait of hers? Mythical, you trade your milk duds for some Rolos? I would make that trade. Absolutely. All right, so you rolled a 7. I'm going to roll a d8 and a 3. These are her personality traits. Now, I don't know what this means. What does a 7 and a 3 personality trait means? Who knows? We're going to get to that shortly. But what we've done is we've set the framework for our character. Through some random number generation, it removes our personal biases. And now we can build on a unique concept from here in ways that perhaps we've never thought of before. To discover more about the character, I highly encourage starting with the character's background. And the background of Investigator, let's see, is that Sword Coast Adventures Guide, I believe. Because that is a variant of City Watch, if I recall correctly. Yep, the variant is Investigator. Rather than watch or patrol, members are a community's investigators who are responsible for solving crimes after the fact. Though such folk are seldom found in rural areas, nearly every settlement of decent size has at least 1 or 2 watch members who have the skill to investigate crime scenes and track down criminals. If your prior experience is as an investigator, you have proficiency in investigation rather than athletics. So here we go. It's so normally City Watch is athletics and insight. Instead, we're going to go to investigation and insight. We're going to get 2 languages of our choice so we can talk to people in the streets. So for a Duergar, we'll get to the Duergar languages, but we'll start by putting in some question marks here for the 2 languages that we're going to get to speak. Rhino, you're going to trade Baloo's cats for some Reese's cups. Oh my. I have some Reese's pieces in my fridge that are nice and cold, and when you bite into them, they're going to crunch. Ooh. Oh, Cybernetic, you're talking about licorice? I've tried the salted licorice is more of a Nordic thing, if I recall correctly. As for peppered, I don't know if I've ever had peppered licorice, because the anise, or anise, depending on how you want to pronounce it, if you get it very natural and not the artificial flavor stuff, it already has a natural pepperiness to it. Well, yeah, I don't have cups. I just have the pieces, but they're in they're almost at a frozen state, so they're gonna have a good crunch to them. You'll trade your 8-year-old stepson for some sea salt, sorry, Ghirardelli chocolate? You need to make biscotti? Oh, Mendaria, did you bring in? Are you going to make enough for the class? Please. Oh, biscotti's good stuff. Especially if you can dunk it, because some biscottis are dry, and that's fine. That's part of the experience, because you're supposed to have a coffee, right? Beep, beep, you dip it. A baklava sounds really good right now, too. Oh, just get that nice rose water pastry, and it kind of, I don't know, you bite into it, has a good like squish, but you feel the layers like, squishing down. Oh, it's wonderful mouthfeel. That's right, mouthfeel. Test 1, mouthfeel. Hey, Custos, good to see you back. Welcome, as apparently we're having impromptu mouthfeel ASMR. A uniform in the style of your unit and indicative of your rank as some gear. So we'll just put our uniform. A horn with which to summon help. So we'll just call a help horn. manacles, and a belt pouch containing 10 guppas. Our feature is Watcher's Eye. Your experience in enforcing the law, your experience in enforcing the law and dealing with lawbreakers gives you a feel for local laws and criminals. You can easily find the local outpost of the Watch of a similar organization, and just as easily pick out the dens of criminal activity in a community, although you're more likely to be welcome in the former locations rather than the latter. So look, we know the pillow houses, we know the opium dens, we know the gambling halls, we know all of this stuff. Or we're more likely to. A den of iniquity. Y'all are talking about some tasty food. Oh my! I didn't have a snack while I was up either. I mean, continue to make me salivate and tempt me, but ugh, good stuff. Okay. As well, the suggested characteristics are for the soldier background for the City Watch, as we're kind of a tough, we're an enforcer. And so we're going to complete looking into this character in Chapter 4 of the Player's Handbook using soldier personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Sage, sailor, soldier. There we go. Modifying the entries where appropriate to suit your identity as a member of the City Watch. Your bond is likely associated with your fellow Watch members or the Watch organization itself, and almost certainly concerns your community. Your ideal probably involves the fostering of peace and safety. An investigator is likely to have an ideal connected to achieving justice by successfully solving crimes. So we're going to be taking the soldier personality traits, ideal, bond, and flaw, though we're going to apply it to a police level, a street level soldier, in a sense. Let's go now to her background, personality, in particular, her personality traits. Her first personality trait as rolled was number 7. I have a crude sense of humor. And so, when she's on patrol or in the station, she can burp, fart, and cuss with the rest of them. She probably tells, raucous jokes, and has and probably engages in a little bit of horseplay. I know I said horseplay. I'm sorry. I know I didn't label this as a mature stream. Mandara, you got to sleep? All right, sleep well. Thank you for lurking and being a part of the channel tonight. Have a great night, Mendari. Her second personality trait. Well, hey, sometimes Wolfblade, you have to have that morbid humor in order to act as kind of a defensive mechanism. A defensive mechanism to who we are. Otherwise, the weight of the world, especially if you're an investigator. I mean, I don't know if any of you have friends or family, or if you yourself are a police or some sort of law enforcement. I mean, even to a degree, I know there's people who work security in a private situation here in our community. And the things that you see other people do, and it doesn't even have to be extreme, like, it's a serial killer that removes the eyes from the still living victim before, I don't know, like, eating them and describing the mouthfeel of the eyeballs. I mean, yeah, of course, people are really messed up and can do that stuff. But honestly, how disappointed in humanity are you at the things that you see them do on a daily basis? I mean, you as average Joe citizen, we even have an average Joe out here. You know, you live your life. You probably encounter the law. You know, hopefully not too often, for bad reasons. When you are the police or your security, you see the worst of people every single day. You see them grope, and you see them rape, you see them cheat, you see them steal. You see people that unfortunately perpetuate stereotypes of all makes and models. I'm talking every strata of socioeconomic demographic here. You see people that otherwise, you know, you're like, oh, that's a kind old grandma. And grandma is just, is trying to steal grandma's trying to steal a bottle of vodka from the liquor store. And it can be tough working in law enforcement, privately or publicly, because you have to deal with this stuff every day and yet still maintain your professionalism. Still see human beings, or in this case, in a fantasy setting, still see humanoids, or, you know, whatever the culture is here, as such. Because you have to remind yourself, not all people are like this. Not all grandmas steal vodka. Not all, in a fantasy setting, not all gnomes make explosives and fling them about wildly. But you know what? That one that did was a real jerk. Raven, I don't trust anyone. That's why I'm a great security officer. Wolfblade, everyday things cops deal with is enough to have that dark humor. Yep, you're correct, Wolfblade. EMTs also. Yeah, EMTs are not in law enforcement, but they certainly cross paths enough. And Rhinohide, I mean, when... Rhinohide and working, because there's at least one EMT in our community. I mean, when you arrive to the scene of an accident and you look over at the EMT because you know what you're going to find once you remove that crumpled steel. I mean, you look at the other person and it's not that you don't mourn the loss of another human being. Even that could even be your third human being you've seen deceased today. But when you say, I can't sew hamburger back into a cow, you know, you have to maintain a kind of a defensive mechanism when you see this stuff happen on a consistent basis. Because it's intrinsically negative, and it's the low points. Your everyday life is the low point of everyone else's life. Because they did something to get arrested or to get in trouble. They did something dumb to get their finger blown off. You get called out for petty stuff also. And you're like, oh, I guess we're going to go see the McGillicuddies again. Yeah, they're having another fight. And, you know, the wife called us. I think that's the third call from the wife this week and the fourth call from the husband. And you just go out and you have to solve other people's petty, like, infantile stuff. And they're supposed to be adult functioning human beings. So absolutely having a crude sense of humor on an investigator, especially like a murder investigator. Rhino used to be a correctional officer. Every day was rough. Yeah, and you know, it's not even, you're not even safe in that regard. You still have to be on your toes. You still see these people, despite being, you know, behind bars, hopefully receiving rehabilitation. But you still see people who didn't know how to live life outside the bars, and now let alone inside them. I mean, you can watch The Green Mile, you can watch Shawshank Redemption, and you get an idea. But it's not the same as actually doing it. And Rhino, you made a good point. You're about to be, what, TSA hypnotic? Your post is very lax, and I'm just access control instead of working a mall like you used to. My investigator once evicted a troll for enforcing a bridge toll without a business license. Oh, so yeah, so you're coming up with, you know, you get the town, you get the town person coming out, and all right, come on, Get away with that. It'd be kind of funny if people, like, it's the local troll that everyone loves, and it's sort of like when you read that story in summertime that in some city, you know, like, the city came down hard on the 6-year-old who wanted to sell lemonade you know, in her front lawn because she didn't have a business license and wasn't paying taxes. You know, because almost every summer, I mean, you'll find that somewhere where... anyway, that's... Cybernetic, if you want, as long as it won't get you in trouble, if you want to share real life stories to prime our pumps of our imagination, to get into the mindset of an investigator, especially where we're going to be cross-referencing her with horror. Again, everyone, this writes itself. This is all randomly generated. We have, you know, a Call of Cthulhu style, perhaps, investigator here dealing with the other world. Do you have a license? Checking license, says Cold Spark. EMT Buddy isn't allowed to tell work stories anymore. Like, at your request, because of the I can't sew hamburger back into a cow stuff? Oh yeah, even you can't escape it in a small town either, Wolfblade. Because, you know, you still see, you know, even if it's not a violent act, you know, we're talking, you know, rape, murder stuff. You still respond to a house where the family is grieving because Grandpa had a heart attack. And as hard as you try, Grandpa's not coming back. You know, you're still there and trying, and you have or had a grandfather yourself, and yet, there you are. That's your Tuesday. That, you know, that's a day that wrecked the family. You know, sent them in the morning. And yet, that's your Tuesday. Or even worse, you respond to a scene, and already the family is fighting over, like, Grandpa's inheritance. And not only are you there trying to save the grandfather's life, but then the police have to be called because there's domestic violence as, like, the brothers are punching each other. And you're just like, wow, really? Wow. Yeah, adult does not mean functional human being. We just presumably attach the two together. It became the go-to punchline at, yeah. Oh, Orc. I mean, it sounds like the person was okay in that regard, but oh my goodness. And again, that grim sense of humor, right? That the MT's, her Halloween makeup was so on point, they thought she died on impact. Oh my goodness. Oh, something in your logs from the past week, an 80-year-old senior citizen stealing wallets. Yep. Roofing with a security guard who had to stop this guy from beating his wife at a race event, and he says it still shocked him seeing that guy hit his wife. Yep. Yep. So, we got on a little sidetrack, but you know what? That's absolutely fine. We're building a character, we're sharing our experiences, because we have an investigator, and we have to get into that mindset. I mean, there's a reason why the go-to Call of Cthulhu character is an investigator. You're someone who it's your job to open your mind up to possibilities. You know, to practice Occam's razor. You see the worst in people on a daily basis, and you have to do it to make your rent. All right, our other personality trait is number 3. I've lost too many friends. And I'm slow to make new ones. Now, we could have that as friends. We could have that as, I mean, do we want to make the grizzled partner who went, or used to have a partner or a couple partners, ended up going solo because she lost them due to accidents, gang violence, something else that happened? So, you know, we can replace friends. I'll put friends in brackets. It could even be family members. I've lost too many family members. And so she has also left her family, jaded at that lifestyle, to go and try and find a career someplace else. You know, if you're sick and tired of the place that you live because of the shenanigans that go on there, you know, you're embittered by it, but you might move on someplace else and hopefully escape it. All right, what is her ideal? Her ideal is number 1. Our lot is to lay down our lives in defense of others. Now, this is a soldier ideal, and we were prompted to think, how would this apply to, effectively, a Ge Flask era policeman, but more specifically, a detective? So, our lot is to... What is a sacrifice that we make that might replace lay down our lives in defense of others, or we could replace that to serve justice? Our lot is to do something either in defense of the citizenry or to enact justice. Hey, Mr. Wolfie, good morning to you. There's a reason why the passenger seat of this wagon sits empty. Don't try to get to know me. I'm putting that as a quote, Rhino. There's a reason why the passenger seat of this wagon sits empty. Don't try to get to know me. Right? I work alone. That's why I entered the detective bureau. I don't need any more partners. I'll do this myself. Screw going by the book. Those people are in need. Slayso, good morning. Oh, you had someone that responded to a report where his friend was the victim. Yeah, you'll run into that. Whether you're EMT or especially if you're police and you have to respond to your own family or friends. Oh, Wolfblade, yeah, there's plenty of us. We have an RPG workshop and a writing workshop where we can help you out with that. Okay. Our bond is number 5. Those who fight beside me are those worth dying for. Again, this is our soldier prompt for an investigator. Of course, you can share cybernetic Illithid. How would we turn this soldier prompt into one of more of a grizzled investigator? Those who fight beside me are worth dying for. Is this... You know, she's encountered death, obviously. Maybe she works a really rough beat, privately or publicly. So, do we want to touch or modify those who fight beside her to other Leos? Or is this on behalf of the people that she wants to serve to bring justice? I was referring to our dwarf friend's personality trait. Oh, gotcha. She responded and she saw her friend murdered or something. Well, the body. She probably didn't see the murder. Illithid said, I got 2 rounds in my leg at the start of the year. They called the head of VIP security because he has the most experience disarming people. They called me. Rawr. Well, I'm glad that, I mean, is there any lingering injury from that, Illithid, or were you able to recover? She has a soft spot for the local orphanage caretakers because they're fighting the good fight. And thank you for joining the Discord as well. I mean, if you like who we are and what we do on stream, that continues on Discord. If you want input on your character, throw it in the RPG workshop, Wolfblade. So, those who I serve are worth the risk of dying for. The soldier, I mean, soldiers don't want to die, but, you know, neither do police. Though the severity is, more people might expect a soldier would be in the line of fire more deadlier and more often than someone in law enforcement. And so it takes a little bit of the direct, yeah, come on, shoot me kind of a thing. Go from there. I'm almost getting a Hardigan feel from Sin City. Do any of you know that character? Have you read that graphic novel by Frank Miller? Or at least have you seen the movie? I'm kind of getting a Hardigan feel. All right, and what is her flaw? Because we are all flawed creatures. Her flaw is number 5. I obey the law, even if the law causes misery. I am the law. Yep, Bruce Willis's character, Hardigan. Orc, you're getting an Olivia Benson feel from Law and Order SVU. She works for a rich benefactor and rides a red horse named Porsche. Her name is Magma. Magma PI. Raz, you're giving us the old razzle dazzle. I love the inspiration and the pun, by the way. So she obeys the law. She is the law. And if the law says, I'm sorry, I can't help you, because the law doesn't, now it doesn't mean that maybe she can't find, you know, a workaround in some way, but this is her personality flaw, where if the law doesn't address a particular action, you know, she has to investigate domestic violence, and you know, she goes and says, I'm sorry, Mr. or Miss, there are no marks on you, and you can claim that you've been hit as much as you want, but the law is clear. I can't arrest him or her because of the evidence that is at hand. And inside, she might be looking at either of them and think, oh, that, you know, SOB, or, you know, the less often used DOB. But, you know, she might think that people are scummy, but she cannot act lawfully on that. And so her strength, her job, is also her flaw. And you know what? That's another coping mechanism. Sticking to the things, you know, the devils we know, are things that many of us might cling to despite being self-destructive because we're scared of what else is out there. And for her, perhaps the only thing keeping her life stable is a knowledge and enforcement of the law based on everything that she's been through in life. You are under arrest, says Cybernetic Lithin. By the way, Cybernetic, when it comes to stuff like that, what are you allowed to do? Are laws different out in Nevada? Like, can you tackle people or cuff them, or you know, what sort of enforcement are you allowed to have? Doesn't stop me from coming back off duty to beat their ass, says Rhino. I'll suplex someone if the situation allows. So here, we've had an awesome conversation about her personality. You know, I think we're already starting to get a mental image of our character. We have this middle-aged Duergar woman. She's an investigator. She sees the worst in people every day. And herself probably has a secret. You know, she's made a pact with an Archfey. And is that to cover up for something in her own life? Is that kind of her coping mechanism, right? She's a chain pact warlock. And that means that she uses a familiar. And so she has a pet. And that pet could be like, you know, like a police dog almost. Maybe she's named the familiar after one of her fallen partners or something along those lines. And so she's turned to this lifestyle to, again, try and cope. She understands the law. So, of course, making a pact. It's not that she went into it blindly. You know, it's like people... How many of us know that smoking over time will give you cancer? And how many people still smoke? With that knowledge. You know, here she is facing an otherworldly pact that could, you know, consume her soul. Or, you know, somehow, you know, twist or mutate or taint her, outside or inside. And yet she entered into it because she understands pacts. She understands laws. And what she's receiving, be it the benefit of, again, think, even Call of Cthulhu stereotype, let alone the fact that, you know, people who are EMTs and law enforcement officers, they also smoke and drink and, you know, they're human beings also who have their flaws. She might do this as a coping mechanism, almost like a, like a drug addiction. Like needing, you know, she never wants a humanoid partner, but her familiar will never leave her, because even if it dies, she can resummon it. It'll help save lives no matter the cost, no matter what the Archfey desires. You know, she'll deliver, she's always delivered, but she uses those tools to do more help than harm. Midnight Samurai, good to see you back, welcome. And, well, I guess it's the 31st now, here in the Eastern Time Zone, so happy Halloween. Even if you're not, it'll happen soon for you. But I'm sending my message through space and time. I'm sorry, we do not have flying cars yet in the future. But I'm sending the happy Halloween message to all of you out there. That is a very tactful phrase, Cybernetic Illithid. Physical relocation of potentially dangerous individuals. Name the familiar Lucy? I don't get the reference, Raven. Maybe she obeys the law, but the familiar doesn't. And you know, this is extra eerie. It writes itself, everyone. Iwi, because her personality is lawful neutral. She presents herself as orderly. She presents herself as having to weigh the good and the bad, even if the bad wins, because technically it's the law. So anyway, we have our character. Congratulations, we've made our second character of the evening. Do we need anything else? Do we really need anything else to make this character? You know, we should probably look at what she gets for being a Duergar, which is actually going to be fun. Talking about physical relocation, Cybernetic Illithid, if any of you don't know the cool trick that Duergar get, well, you're going to find out shortly, as this is going to come in handy for her to arrest people. Once I find Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which is right here, because this talks about the Dwarfs. The wolves and the Dwarfs. Dwarves and Duergar. Duergar characters on 81. If you want any of this flavor about Duergar, ale, drinking, the fact that they came from mind flayers, you can incorporate that into this character. We're kind of keeping her in a bubble, which we can reference back to, but we don't necessarily have to. All right, so Duergar traits. Your strength score increases by 1. That's right, because this is a subrace. Boop, boop, boop. I'll put that here real quick, because we're going to have to. We're going to have to come back to, that's the monster manual. We're going to have to make a dwarf first and then apply the Duergar template. I forgot about that. All right, so all dwarves, constitution increases by 2. We already have our age, alignment, and size. Our speed is 25 feet, giving us a 12 climb, 12 swim, 0 fly. We do get 60 feet of dark vision. That might be enhanced as a Duergar. Dwarven Resilience. We have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage. So I'm going to mark resistance up here under IRV for resistance. And for our advantages, this is versus poisoned condition. Dwarven Combat Training. You have proficiency with the Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Throwing Hammer, and Warhammer. That is going to come in handy because this Warlock only gets simple weapon proficiency. So I'm going to put Dwarven Combat... Actually, I'll just put that in weapons because we're going to get simple as a Warlock. But we're also going to get Dwarven Combat because it's its own curated list. You know, we're just making a reference. Doesn't matter what you end up typing as long as you know. We have tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan tools of your choice. Smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools. And so the question here is, if we stick to the book, and I totally understand and would get it, if you're running this character, you talk to your DM and ask if you could have something else. If we go with Smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools, which tool set do you think she would have proficiency with? As well, we're going to get Stone Cunning. And we're going to speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. She could be a drinker. Nope. I don't see why she wouldn't. In Mordenkainen's, it says that the Duergar do drink, but they try to avoid excess. That doesn't mean it has to be the other way around. You know, maybe she sees the act of making tools, or even the act of masonry, as like even a hobby, could help her. Like, because masonry like follows the law. Like everything is dimensional, everything is strong in a foundation. Smithing to make or repair manacles or other like man catcher weapons. You know, masonry could even help with, like, infiltrating a building. Stone cunning and mason tool proficiency could be really good at trying to, like, get into a warehouse or something made of stone, or to give her some architectural knowledge. She 100% brews her own ales. Oh, so maybe she doesn't trust other people, Orc? That could be. They puff up. They do indeed, Raz. Your Friday group, Joe, is heading into the Underdark soon, so Duergar knowledge is much welcome. About to head out on patrol. Thanks for the workshop again. It's a pleasure, Raven. Thank you for hanging out with us. I don't know if we'll still be here when you come back from your patrol. If so, hey, welcome back. And if not, have an awesome night. Insert names, thank you very much for the follow. So I think all of these can work. You're thinking the masonry? All right. Mason's tools. She knows how to build up. She knows how to tear down. She makes them solid. She follows the laws of masonry. Okay. I totally get the brewer supplies, though chat here seems to want the masons more, and that's fine. And you know what? If you're making this character at home alongside, or you download this sheet later from our Discord, change it to brewer supplies. I won't tell anyone, and she's still your character. All right. Our strength score increases by 1. We have that. So, our dark vision goes to 120 feet. You can speak, read, and write undercommon. You have advantage on saving throws against illusions and against being charmed or paralyzed with Duergar Resilience. So, in addition to poisoned, we also have illusions. Oh, she is such a hard-ass cop. Oh my gosh. Resistance to poison, resistance to illusions, charmed, or being paralyzed. She is absolutely, I mean, so the Mason's kit is also like explaining her. She is such a hard-ass cop. The player's handbook gets into it, and I think the Dungeon Master's Guide does too a little. Ooh, pardon the hiccup. You always thought calligraphers was good for lawful characters? Well, it could. Lawful doesn't mean though that you're a lawyer or a diplomat offhand. You could be a lawful good rogue Midnight Samurai. So I mean, obviously, I want to promote literacy. Everyone should know how to read and write and be able to draw pretty letters. So I get the connection you're making. I don't think calligraphy is necessarily inherent in lawful characters, though. Possibly Rhino. You might be able to argue that would be an alchemist kit or an herbalism kit as well. Now we are going to get some Duergar magic. When you reach 3rd level, you can cast the Enlarge Reduce spell on yourself once with this trait, using only the spell's Enlarge option. When you reach 5th level, you can cast the Invisibility spell on yourself once with this trait. You don't need material components for either spell, and you can't cast them while you're in direct sunlight, although sunlight has no effect on them once cast. You regain the ability to cast these spells with this trait when you finish a long rest. Intelligence is your spellcasting ability for these spells. So we're going to get some Duergar magic here. I'm just going to call this DM. We're going to get Enlarge once per long rest based off of Int. And Duergar magic, we are going to get Invisibility once per long rest based off of Int. Sunlight sensitivity. You have disadvantage on attack rolls and wisdom perception checks that rely on sight when you, the target of your attack, or whatever you're trying to perceive, is in direct sunlight. Oh, not only is she a hard-ass cop, she's a noir detective. She works the midnight, the graveyard shift beat because she has excellent vision in the dark and functions very well in it. And that's also when all the juicy, horrible stuff happens too. Gosh. We're making a tragic character in a sense right from the get-go. My goodness. Yeah, night cop finding the rotting bodies at 3 a.m. Yeah, the sun's out. Excuse me while I cover myself with this blanket. So, of course, she's not a morning person. She'd be wearing some cool sunglasses, though. It is cybernetic, yeah. Invisibility for covert ops, yeah. And then when you're chasing someone and you turn large, and then because you want to pin them and grapple them or like hold them still until you can arrest them properly. Hardcore mode. Her parents are still alive. Oh, they may very well be still alive. Yep, CSI Miami sunglasses, Raz. I refuse to use sunglasses. It's a cop-out. No pun intended. You want them to know, Elithid. You want them to know. Dork Immortal? Yeah, she's definitely a pale girl here. Duergar. Yeah, do they have a really good... They have a really good, oh, those are halflings. Oh, it's a nice halfling family. Duergar tend to be pale, kind of like Drow are darker. Svirfneblin. There's that too. Duergar tables, though this is these are more for, I guess, enemy ones here, raiding for slaves and such. She's probably not attached with a formal clan. I mean, we could always go back and explore. But if we look in the monster manual, you can find some Duergar in here. before they made it a playable race. Demi-Lich. Dragons. There we go. Also known as Grey Dwarves. Pardon. The flavor sunglasses. I like that, Snicer Tenu. Oh no, I get the joke. Because how many adventurers go off because their parents are gone, even if they're not dead. I mean, it's even an anime trope too, Rhino. I mean, how many anime characters have parents that are overseas for work or just are never home? I mean, even look at school fighter animes. I mean, where's the teachers? Where's the parents? You have high schoolers that are brawling for some sort of like inane social status in a high school that apparently respects that. And you just wonder where all of this is. What's her cast? If we want to give one to her, I suppose that we could. Or maybe it's one that she came from if she's not still in it. Good morning, Clicker. Well, let's add some gingerbread to her a little bit here. You're still running the middle school card game anime, and there are teachers. the rare there's teachers present anime. Yeah, run away from home and tame magical animals to have them fight each other. So we have her background. We know now who she is as a Duergar. And it is now time to apply her job, well, her class. Her job is an investigator. That's what she does. Though the methodology she employs to get her job done is by that of a warlock. And in particular, boop. In particular, we're a 5th level Archfey chain pact warlock. So we're going to be focusing on this stuff right here. Let's see. Warlocks are a D8 hit die class, and we're level 5, so we get 5 D8 that we can expend on rests to naturally heal ourselves, at least to recover hit points between long rests here, during a short or a long rest. Let's see. We also get light armor proficiency. We also... cat. We also get simple weapon proficiency. We have that, but we have the caveat of the dwarven weapons we learned how to wield. No tool proficiencies. Wisdom and charisma are going to be our proficient saves. Choose 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. Well, we already have Investigation and Insight from our background as an investigator. So what else as an investigator? And this could, this could end up being, are we talking Dresden Files, X-Files, and we want to give her Arcana? Is that her beat? Does she solve murders that end up with like a demon possessed someone exploded out of their body and is on the loose? Is it historical? Is she more of a forensic? I deal with the facts. I go back into old case files, and we draw on that. Does she have an intimidation factor? She may very well have an intimidation factor. I am the law kind of a thing. Nature. Do we want to... She is bound to an Archfey. She's not a ranger per se, but she does have an animal companion in the form of a chain pact familiar. Does she... Oh, there's Raichi. All right, everyone. If you have the cat buddy emote, this is a good time for it. Does she have knowledge in religion? And any of these can cross. We get 2 of these. Is she basing her intelligences on her investigation? Cybernetic thinks intimidation. Insert, if you type ! Charvar for character variant, you should go to a website where you can get it. Intimidation. All right, so we have Intimidation and Arcana. Like, so you're saying you have no idea how these runes got inscribed here. And then she draws on her arcane lore. You know, it would take a blah, 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 blah. Oh, I wonder if it's gone down since I created it. Sorry. So names, if you join our Discord, you can download this from our past content channel. And just, you can find a prior character we made, download it, and clear it out. All right, Arcana it is. So she gets some of the weird jobs. Okay. And she works the midnight shift, too. Yeah, what we do in our workshops, insert names, I make that available for free on our Discord after the workshop week is over. So if you like anything we did, you can download it and use it yourself. All right, we get some Pact magic. We're not worried about that just yet. Eldritch Invocations. We are going to get some invocations. We're going to get 2 of them. And, of course, our Pact boon, Pact of the Chain. You learn the Find Familiar spell and can cast it as a ritual. The spell doesn't count against the number of spells known. When you cast the spell, you can choose one of the normal forms for your familiar or one of the following special forms. Imp, Pseudo-Dragon, Quasit, or Sprite. Additionally, when you take the attack action, you can forego one of your own attacks to allow your familiar to make an attack of its own. Ooh, these are some good throat scritchings here. Yeah, you getting all that hairball stuff loosened up? There we go. So we're going to come down here, and we have... our Pact is going to give us Find Familiar as a ritual. Ability score improvement at 4, and we don't get our next Warlock thing until 11. So we are we're almost a Warlock. There's a couple things I still need to fill in here. At 5th level, our proficiency goes to 3. We're gonna know 3 cantrips. 1, a 2, a 3. We're going to have 2 spell slots of 3rd level. And actually, we're going to know a 3rd invocation. Excellent. For being an Archfey, we do get an expanded spell list. It doesn't give you more spells. It just means that in addition to the normal Warlock spells that you could get, as any Warlock could get, in particular, you can take Fairy Fire, Sleep, Calm Emotions, etc. We are going to get Fey Presence. Starting at 1st level, your patron bestows upon you the ability to project the beguiling and fearsome presence of the Fey. As an action, you can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a wisdom saving throw against your Warlock spell save DC. The creatures that fail the saving throw are all charmed or frightened by you. And you want to get information? You know, you go into that donut and coffee place that's open, 24 hours. It's 3 a.m. There's like the old regular at the end of the counter, and you come in and there's like a suspect, and she can come in and be charming, or where is she? You can be absolutely frightening to try and get information from people. This works super well for an investigator. And at 6th level, we're almost there to get Misty Escape. Not quite. So this is what we're working with a 5th level character. It is now time to give her invocations. Each of the pacts do have an invocation specially for it. Actually, 2. For instance, the Chains of Carceri here. However, this is at 15th level. There is another Pact of the Chain that we might be able to take. Pact of the Blade. Pact of the Blade. Pact of the Chain. The voice of the Chain Master. You can communicate telepathically with your familiar and perceive through your familiar's senses as long as you are on the same plane of existence. Additionally, while perceiving through your familiar's senses, you can also speak through your familiar in your own voice, even if your familiar is normally incapable of speech. I really like that. It lets her hide. She can send her sprite to go eavesdropping in windows and look through its eyes and effectively fly as this sprite. I think this works well. Snicer, we ended up reviewing that a couple weeks ago. I thought it had a cool concept. I don't understand the flumps as the 8 different results were schools of magic. So when I was reviewing it with Jeremy over at Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, whose username is Trustaflump, despite that, even he was a little baffled. And so we just chalked it up to instead of evocation, it was the war school. That you just summon a bunch of flumps that go and explode on the battlefield. And we made a joke on that the other week when we were making monsters, because I made a Cormyrean war wizard flump in our lesson about applying character levels to monsters and how that affects CR. It's wild magic without a downside. Feels a bit lame that there is no downside, to be honest. Sounds like Bright. All right, Wolfblade, go charge up, and we'll see you back. All right, so I definitely like Voice of the Chain Master. Now what else would help us investigate? We could take Devil Sight. You can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical. So this means we can see color in magical darkness if we take Devil Sight. That could be useful. Eldritch Sight. You can cast Detect Magic at will without expending a spell slot. We are an Arcane Investigator, so Eldritch Sight might work very well also. Armor of Shadows could be good. You know, if things are getting rough, instant magical armor. One with shadows could be interesting. When you're in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. So it's expanded invisibility, but I don't know. The once per day is probably gonna be good. So I don't know if we need to use an invocation on that. Gaze of Two Minds could be very interesting as well for an investigator, as well as Eyes of the Runekeeper. You can read all writing. Throws voice to the front door through the sprite. Open up! Waits at the back door for them to flee. Yes, Average Joe. And when they come out, she grows and just like takes them and conks their heads together to pacify them. And the Devil Sight Darkness combo is mechanically so powerful. Mask of Many Faces could be interesting for an investigator as well, because we can cast Disguise Self at will without expending a spell slot. So what are some of these invocations that are really reaching out to you that you think would be really good? While you're discussing that, I'm going to drop in the standard array into our character. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8 into the stats. And we'll go from there. Mask of Many Faces. Well, is she undercover, though? She arrives on the scene after things. Not that she wouldn't go undercover maybe to get info. But remember, as an investigator, she shows up after the murder's been committed. After the demon has been summoned from the circle. She's always arriving after the things have gone on. Not that she can't be undercover. I'm fine with Mask of Many Faces. Though for her role as an investigator, especially one with an arcane bend. Which invocation allows for more cat butt? Well, she could just have a cat as a familiar. So, it's not even an invocation. She could just be a cat butt summoning warlock. She could have the cat talk out its ass. For this character, you know, I dare say charisma wouldn't be her primary stat. Not that it's going to be a dump stat. But I don't know if she's especially charismatic. She's certainly intelligent. I mean, I should probably put the 14 in intelligence here. (14, 13... maybe 15 strength? Or is she more of a, is she more dexterous? Or what if that's a 13? What a complex character. She's an awesome character. You want to put 10 in strength? So maybe she relies on enlarging herself to get the bonus to athletics. Yes, charisma is her main stat. That does not mean that it has to be the highest number on a character res. She may very well be using the magic for support spells, because she herself she's the cop. The magic she bargained for would simply be to support. And here's a good example. Let's go to Warlock spells. And if we take a look at something like protection from evil and good. All right, so protection from evil and good. The protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those types have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target. There's absolutely no casting check and no DC. So she can have a 10 charisma and absolutely cast this spell as powerful as a 20 charisma warlock could. And you know what, Average Joe? I think this would be a warlock without Eldritch Blast. I don't know if she really has a need for Eldritch Blast. In fact, dare I challenge us? Dare I challenge us? I mean, that's... What if she doesn't, though? Of course, Samurai. We've made several warlocks that function very well without Eldritch Blast. It's just not in their character to have it. We are absolutely committing blasphemy here. I want to give her a 10 charisma. Let's give her a 10 charisma. We're going to give her a... let's see. Insight and saving throw. Well, let's give her a... 14 int. 15, 14, 13, 10. And on top of this, everyone, we're going to give her a dump stat in Dex. Unless you want her dump stat to be Charisma. Oh, did I not put it 12? 15, 14, 13. Oh, I have 2 10s. So let's put that in Constitution. She's very tough. But you know what? Where's that 12? You know what? She probably suffered an injury where she lost her partner, and she doesn't have very good mobility. Maybe that's a part of why she quit being a beat cop and went to be an investigator. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. Dexterity dump, charisma almost dump stat on a warlock. Con goes to 14, but you're talking about it earlier, she's thick. She's a sturdy girl. Now, we get 1 ASI at level 4. We're a level 5 character, so at level 4, we're going to take that as our stats. And I would say put wisdom to 14. And if you're ever in a situation where you are floating one bump in a stat score, you can get mechanical benefits. You can get mechanical benefits for putting it in your strength score, because that increases what you can push, pull, drag, lift, etc., etc. Now, if you don't want it in strength, because look, she's only level 5, she still has more room to grow. You could always prime something else for future ASIs. I don't think we should touch her charisma at all. I think she's perma 10 charisma warlock all the way to level 20. Three, -1, 2, 2, 2, and 0. There we go. That's right, don't you run, I'll be angrier when I arrest you. Jump distance also, you're correct, names. Your sister would flip her lid? How's that, Average Joe? Well, so you'd have to give her a feat later if you level her up midnight. But for how we're creating her, she just took the ASI instead of a feat. Passive perception is 12, as that's 10 plus her perception modifier, for how naturally aware she is. However, her passive investigation's a 15. All right, her armor class. If she is wearing leather armor, her armor class is 10. Oh, Average Joe, you should have your sister come to the stream, and we're going to blow her mind. As characters, with that mentality, every character optimized is a boring character, because you're just playing the same character over and over again. I'm playing a Charisma Warlock. I'm playing a Strength Fighter, and I'm playing a Barbarian with a Big Con. Whatever. I mean, tell me about the characters, but... and we make a lot of them. I'm not being like bad dismissive. How many barbarians have high strength and con? Now they're normally meant to. How many warlocks have maxed out their charisma because they just can't function without it? Let's continue because we're going to talk about spells. Let's talk. She still needs invocations, by the way. But let's talk about the spells after our break. Her initiative is actually a -1 because of that old leg injury. If she's attacking with a strength weapon, it's going to be at a +6. And if she's attacking with a dex weapon, it'll be at a +2. If she's attacking with a spell, it'll be at a +3. And to save against it, someone needs an 11. We have our cantrips. Now it's time for hit points. At first level, you get your maximum hit points according to your hit dice, which is a d8. So we get 8 hit points. For our remaining 4 levels of our 5, we get half +1 of our hit die. So that's 5. Then, for all of our levels, all 5 of them, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. So here, we have 10 bonus, 20 from our other class levels. So we have 38 hit points at level 5 as a Warlock. And something I did forget to put for Warlock, too. We do get some starting gear, which is fine. I mean, we could put on a light crossbow. She wouldn't be really good with it, though. She wants to hit people. She wants to hit people with, like, the Dwarven Warhammer that she's trained with. You know, so maybe she carries, she carries a crossbow just for standard's sake or something. Or just, honestly, any simple weapon, just give her a dagger. Because daggers can still be strength. And you always need a dagger. Of course, this does give you 2 daggers down here, too. But so what? So what? Have 3 daggers. With your starting gear. Component pouch or an arcane focus. Her arcane focus would be very interesting to have. Although, if she is methodical, she probably carries like a utility belt. And I could see her actually having components so she could go through the methodology. So the arcane focus could be fun and convenient, but I'm kind of a fan of a component pouch for her. Scholar's pack or Dungeoneer's pack, she takes notes. Absolutely. Scholar's pack. Leather armor, any simple weapon, and 2 daggers. So, I don't know. What are some good... What would be her standard loadout? We're going to give her leather armor. And she carries a club to bludgeon people. It's a nightstick, effectively. You know, then you have your daggers as well. You know, a quarterstaff could be cool, too. She can wield the quarterstaff two-handed for a nice D8. So maybe instead of a club, she actually has a quarterstaff. That'd be interesting. That's her enforcing rod. A great club? Oh. A great club would be cool. You had 14 daggers in your character because you always need a dagger? Absolutely, Average Joe. Oh, it's her old partner's crossbow? Wolfblade. I like that. And we'll just actually put it in her inventory. I mean, maybe she never tries to shoot it, or maybe she does. You know, so we have Dex, so that could be something Dex, that's based off that. So she's not good at shooting the crossbow. I love that. She carries... So she doesn't use crossbows, but she carries her old partner's light crossbow. Enforcing rod and walking stick. Just be careful if she ever pegs you as a criminal. Okay. Hey, we still need 2 more. We still need 2 more invocations. if we're building an investigator, Devil's Sight is good. We already have 120 of normal dark vision, so to me that seems to go on maybe on the next invocation. Eldritch Sight, because we are an investigator of the arcane. I think that would come in handy, absolutely. And we could always use Armor of Shadows if we needed to, but she's an investigator. Eyes of the Runekeeper, I think, would work. Although, you know, Disguise Self would act almost as armor in a sense. Read Writing, Mask of Many Faces. Silent Image would be a good one, too. Ooh, this is tough. There's a lot. We have so many options for this non-optimized character. Let's go Eyes of the Runekeeper. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I think because she has a familiar, she already has the companionship she needs in life. Beast Speech is not bad. I think that she could end up taking it. I fully see this character. If we took her to level 20, she would have like all of these support invocations. This character will hunt you down, absolutely. And you know what? Everyone, she needs a name. She needs a name. She's no longer a set of stats. So our cantrips are going to be... we're going to get 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Then we have 0 slots there, 0 slots there, and 2 third-level slots. And we are going to get some spells as we level up. Spells known at level 1, we get 2 of them. So I'm going to put level 1 here. At level 2, you can see that our spells known go to 3. But we only can know first-level spells there. Boop. Okay. Then at level 3, we get our 4th spell. At level 5, we get our 5th, but we still only can cast up to 2nd level. Now, you don't have to take your spell maximized in the spell slot you can cast. Nothing's wrong with giving her this level 4 spell and dropping it here in level 1 if you want to. And at level 5, we know 1... or we can know 1 third-level spell. Janice Gloomswalla. Hilga the Unyielding. Alright, let me write down some of these names here. So we have Janice, Gloomswalla, Hilga the Unyielding. She might be known by a professional title. Mystery Exquisite? As in that's like a code name or something hypnotic? We have a Bertha. Mystery Exquisite. So Ivana Crush You. Noir Duskvale. of the Duskvale family or of the Exquisite family. No, mythical, that's fine. And you know what? If you're ever in a pinch and you're looking, and you are looking for a fantasy name, there's fantasy name generators, and there's nothing wrong with using them. Obviously, there's your imagination. Here's a good technique that you can use. How about this? Cahola Boss. Now, where did I get... How... Cahola Boss does sound like a fantasy name. Where could I have gotten that name from? How about instead, as a fantasy name, Drogeny Adderthrow. Drogeny Adderthrow. Where could the name Drogeny Adderthrow come from? Use what's around you. Reverse it. Scramble the letters. What's a name? All right, here's a challenge. This is a universal permanent marker. What is a name that you could get from the quality of the marker, from the name of the marker, from what the marker does? What is a name that you could get from universal permanent marker? Morga matters. See? Use your own. Yeah, use your own name. I'm sorry if I missed any here. Marcus Permonte. Her nickname could be Sharpie because she is astute. She might also have a very sharp axe. Versa Parker. Ah! Versa Parker. Per universe. You did an Italian twist. Veruni Parker. And I saw name said Retiab Eiffel? Like Eiffel? Permante. Or Permanente. It does sound Italian. And you know what? Maybe in this world, dwarves or even Duergar are an Italian derivative. Oh, that was from Battery Life. Ah, see? Use what's around you. Yeah. So, yeah, her name could be Eiffel. That sounds like a nice dwarven name. Mori Cavalin. So there's a lot of names. I'm going to have difficulty choosing one. But I'll tell you what, everyone. Let's get up and take a 10-minute break. I'm going to actually get some chips and salsa now. And when we come back, to finish up the night, let's discuss what kind of spells a character like this would take. Because she is not optimized. An average Joe, I hope that we can make something that would convince your sister that this is absolutely a viable character. So, 10 minutes, everyone. Go stretch, take a break, eat something, drink something, and we'll come back.